With a mandate delegated from heaven, the Majesty proclaims. I have heard that the core of righteousness is in the well-being of the people. Therefore, righteous forces assemble not only to terminate a tyranny, but, more importantly, to rescue the miserable people under such tyrannical oppression. Carefully re-examined the existence of our country, Đại Việt. Truly, I have come to an indisputable statement that we have a proud civilization of our own. Our territory on both land and water have been clearly established. Our beliefs and customs are also distinguishable from those of the northern neighbors. Ever since the beginning, our ancestors in the dynasties of Triệu, Đinh, Lý, and Trần had firmly created the foundation for our independence and had preserved it from the influence of the northern sovereignties, including Han, Tang, Song, and Yuan. Even though our defense capability had not always matched the attack power of the invaders, but still, our history had never lacked brilliant heroes. Hence, Liu Gong chased his greedy ambition, then ended up as a loser, and Zhao Jie pursued his mindless pride, then was quickly vanquished. After Hua Tu got trapped in the Battle of Hàm Tử Port, the final destination for Omar was down at the bottom of Bạch Đằng water. Review many scriptures from ancient to present. Surely, historical lessons support my statement. However, not long ago, the government of the whole clan was problematic, giving rise to national disunity and domestic crisis. Smelling blood, the haughty Ming stalked us in order to dominate our people. Chasing lust, the despicable betrayals conspired against our motherland for their sole benefits. The life of everyone was burned in the fire of brutality. The generations of future were trapped in the abyss of terror. Since multiplied wrongs, myriad evil plans could darken the sky. Wars raised hostility. Blood hatreds had been escalated for 20 years. Ethical principles were completely forsaken. The vitality of our society was almost drained. Unjust levies created overwhelming burden. The beauty of our landscape was quickly spoiled. To might go for them, innocent villagers were thrust into deep forests, destroying the natural environment under hazardous conditions. To gather pearls for them, hapless fishermen were thrown into unknown waters, exposing their unarmed body to sea monsters. Disrupting our agricultural activities, they turned our farmers into trap hole diggers to catch rare animals like black deers. Exploiting our domestic materials, they forced our weavers into hunting net makers to capture rare birds like kingfishers. Under their regime, even little insects and wild grasses could not get enough to survive. Neither the lonely bereaved nor the helpless elderly could find a place to rest. All lives spilled blood only to feed the insatiable mouth of some malicious dominators. Various natural resources were depleted to fulfill their endless demands for costly constructions. Heavy taxation and forced labor wearied the whole nation. Loss and penury haunted every corner of the country. Even if the water of the eastern sea had flooded our land, it still would have been insufficient to cleanse such intense filth. Even if the bamboos in the southern land had all been used, it still would have been insufficient to record such uncountable crimes. Both gods and human share the same indignation. Neither heaven nor earth could have more tolerance. I, myself, rose up at Lam Sơn, carried on in the wilderness. The long-standing blood feud was so extreme for a chance of coexistence. Under these circumstances, I pledged to eliminate all the enemies from our homeland. From then, the anguish deep in my heart had been occupying my thoughts for over 10 years. During that period, the yearning for vengeance was my primary motivation to overcome hardships, not just once or twice. Frustration fueled stomach hunger, so there was more time to absorb knowledge from warfare documents. Past and present records were carefully interpreted, so the secret behind rise and fall became clearer. The craving to take back our country was not faded even in my dreams. My flag for righteousness was raised up right in the prime of the enemy. Unfortunately, after those suffering years, our talented people had fallen so many. The new generations of heroes was filled like stars in the early morning. Not only the assistance in action was always in need, but also the consultants in planning were usually not enough. However, the yearning for our people's salvation did not allow me to stop there. Thus, I kept on moving forward with a spare wagon on my left for upcoming supporters. At the beginning, relying on unseen people for progressions was a hallucination, just like daydreaming. So I had to be proactive and faithful, as if I were rescuing drowning victims. Because the evils had not been ousted, because our people had still been suffering. It was brewed unshakable after enduring food shortage for tens of days at Mountain Ling. It was not that terrifying when having less than a battalion of companions at Hoi Tao. As if those challenges were the test from heaven to strengthen those in great missions, I took them as motivation to break through the struggling time. Raise the bamboo flag, the brave and courageous from all over our country came to my side. Share the sworn drink. My soldiers treated one another like family members for an even greater unification. Weak could be strong because we mostly attacked when the enemies were unprepared. Few could face many because we often ambushed at the unexpected points. Finally, uphold justice to overthrow tyranny. Uphold benevolence to counter violence. Our victory at the Battle of Bodang was like a thunder strike. Our advance in the land of Đà Lân was completely unstoppable. Those winnings greatly boosted our morale, and our battle cries became much more enthusiastic. Chen Qi, Shan Shu were frightened out of their wits hearing about our arrival. Liang, Fang Zheng held breath to hide themselves, trying to escape our search. Utilizing many continuous victories, we kept pushing forward and took back the western capital. Mobilizing our force carefully, we surrounded the enemy and recover the eastern capital. At the Battle of Ninh Kiều, blood flew into rivers. The deadly red was spread for myriads of miles. At the Battle of Tuy Động, corpses covered the wilderness. The sickening odor must last for thousands of years. The enemy's brand, Chen Jie, lost his head. The bloodsucker, Li Liang, couldn't escape death. Wang Song came to reinforce their domination. Yet the indomitable flame flared up. Ma Ying commanded more troops to rescue him. Yet our fighting spirit rose higher. Seeing no chance to turn the table, they tied themselves, accepting their fate. Getting a chance to minimize war weariness, I chose a victory by compromising. All because I believed that they would have changed their mind and let go of their unjust ambition. Yet, contrary to all expectation, they instantly committed more sins by pursuing violence. Sticking to the perspective of one person, we continued to inflict more tragedies on many others. Insisting on the short-term satisfaction, they chose to become an object of ridicule for later generations. Young age Xuân Tu was like a mischievous brat, triggering war again without hesitation. He assigned Mu Sheng and Liu Sheng, the violent chasing shysters, to add fuel to the fire. In the years of the goat, Yin fire, the ninth month, Liu Sheng led his army to the border gate Khâu On and continued to push forward. Same year, the 10th month, Mu Sheng divided his forces in Yunnan, planning to trespass our territory from many directions. I have soon completely selected tactical location to block their advanced attacks, shaking their self-confidence. I was then immediately commanding our guerrillas to outmaneuver their major force, disrupting their food supplies. On the 18th, encountering with our bait at Jilang Gate, Liu Sheng ran into our trap. On the 20th, being ambushed by us at Ma In Mount, Liu Sheng was seized. On the 25th, the Count of Bao Ding, Liang Ming, died while being encircled by our force. On the 28th, the Minister of War, Li Qing, suicided as finding no hope for his mission. At an advantage, we made critical strikes to the enemy. With our proper commands, they hurt one another in their self-chaos. Then, more troops were mobilized to completely surround the enemy, in the hope that the flame of war could be quenched in that 10th month. For the ultimate mission, only lion-hearted warriors were selected, and stalwart commanders were carefully assigned directly by me. Elephants drank and streams were drained, sharpened swords and mountains were eroded. After our initial march, the enemy's elite force were broken into pieces. In our following attacks, they all fled in crisis like a bunch of frightened birds. They were then scattered ants on a breaking dike, and we, a strong wind, blowing away all plant litters. One of their commanders, Ko Chu, fell down on his knees begging for pardon. Their minister of work, Huang Fu, tied himself before surrender. The battlefields in Lam Giang and Lam Sơn were made gloomy by corpses. The rivers of Sương Giang and Bình Than were made crimson by blood. The wind and the cloud got panic. The sun and the moon turned pale. The invasion forces from Yunnan got into crisis because they had been stunned by us in Le Hoa for too long. Mu Shang's armies quickly broke up and ran for their lives after knowing the total defeat of Liu Shang at Cần Trạch. In Lãnh Câu stream, bloody flows drifted away weapons. The moaning water lamented the bitterness of loss. In Dan Xá fortress, dead bodies built up mountains. The reddened grasses panted the ravages of war. Completely defeated, their two reinforcements could do nothing more. Hopelessly besieged, the garrisons in all fortresses disarmed themselves to surrender. Their commanders were then captives, like starved tigers, waving tail to beg for life. Preaching the virtue of heaven, mercy was bestowed upon them. Phang Trinh and Ma Ji were provided some hundreds boats, yet still in daze when reaching the sea. Wang Cong and Ma Ying were provided some 1,000 horses, yet still in tremble when passing the border. They finally acknowledge the importance of life and sincerely offer to reestablish a peaceful relationship. I consider the benefit of our people most important, so it is time for us to recover and develop. This decision was made not only with a careful consideration for our future, but also in a thorough review of our history. From now on, our civilization will thrive in peace. Our homeland will adopt a brand new appearance. It is the law of the universe that fortune comes after misfortune has gone. Just like the routines of the sun and the moon, the gloomy darkness is being replaced by the shining brightness. Therefore, it is time for us to jointly construct a long-lasting prosperous peace, and also to put an end to the recent infamy in our history. We should not forget our ancestors and the righteous spirits of the universe, who by their holy methods contributed greatly to this blessing consequence for us all. Oh hell, mighty our victory, mighty our history. The whole nation is at peace. Reforms on all over the land. Proclaim to everyone, all must know and understand.